What's up everyone? In this video I'm going to show you how to make a Raspberry Pi security camera with motion detection video recording. So to start we're going to need a Raspberry Pi. I'm using the Raspberry Pi Zero. This is a pretty old model here. This is the Pi Zero WV1. You can use a bunch of different Raspberry Pis, but they need to have Wi-Fi. So this is a 0W and it has Wi-Fi. I'm also going to be using the official Pi Zero case, and I like it because it has the hole for the camera. And for the camera, I'm going to use Raspberry Pi Camera Module V2. The Camera Module V3 doesn't work for this software, so I tried that. It didn't work. Also, I tried an ArduCam model and it didn't work as well, so we're going to use the Pi Camera Module 2. We also need a adapter ribbon cable from the large to small. And finally we need a memory card. I've got a 16 gigabyte SanDisk and then some kind of USB, micro USB power source. I've just got that plugged into my computer. So to get started, first thing I'm going to do is I'll go ahead and open up the camera here. And in the box comes that little thing. And there's the camera. I think this is a focus device. We can look at that later. But the way the Pi camera comes is with a big ribbon cable to another big one. And that's going to be too big for that slot there. So we need to connect it so that this one can go in. So to do that, we just, on the back here, there is a little black bar. So you need to pull that up, but be sort of gentle with it because I have broken one of these before. Once you pull that up, you can just slide the ribbon cable out. Don't need that. And now we're going to put this one in. So with the gold side facing the board, like that, we want to make sure the gold side hits those connectors. Like that. We're going to put that in and then close that little bar. Alright, I've got that closed. It's a tight fit. Now I'm going to connect that to this. And the same thing, I want the gold side facing the board, so I'm going to put it in like this. Okay, now I've got that connected. It's going to look something like that. I can go ahead and show you how it's going to look. Looking at these USB ports, I want to make sure those are lined up with the holes on the side there. So there's also little holes here to line it up with. So I'm just going to push that in and it'll snap. There it goes. And then now this will snap on. And there's what it's going to look like when it's all done. It'll just need to be plugged in like that. But before we get into that, we need to, I'm going to pop this out. Before doing that, we need to load up the software on the SD card. So I'm going to plug this in to an adapter in my computer and hop on over there. Alright, I'm here on my Mac. You can do this on Windows 2 or Linux, but I'll be using Mac for this tutorial. I just plugged in my USB drive there. Now the software that we'll need is Raspberry Pi Imager. And this is how we're going to get the software onto the SD card. It looks like this. You can download it right here. I already have it downloaded, so I'm just gonna open it up. And here it is. First it's gonna ask you what device you're using. I'm using the Pi 0W, so there it is. So I'll click that, and I think that just limits the choices here to what's good to use with your device. So you've got the Pi OS with desktop or Pi OS Legacy. I'm going to go with the Legacy version, and I'll show you why later. And then clicking choose storage, it sees my 16 gigabyte SD card. I'll click that and hit next. Now it says, would you like to apply OS customization settings? I do want to, and you'll want to do this too, so click on edit settings and let's just start at the top. You can leave that as is, but you want to set a username and password here. And I'm going to call mine Pi0Cam. You can make the name whatever you want here, and then add a password, and then configure your wireless LAN. Put in your Wi-Fi name there and your Wi-Fi password there, and then for set locale settings, put your time zone. Under services, you want to make sure enable SSH is checked with use password authentication. Everything else is good. Click save. Now I'm going to say yes, and then it's going to tell you that everything that's on that SD card will be erased. Are you sure you want to continue? Click yes, and then it'll ask for your computer password. Type that in, hit enter, and then right now it's 8:34. We're going to let that run. That'll take some time. Okay, once that's done, you'll get this message that you can now remove it from the card reader. So I'm going to remove that and put it in my Raspberry Pi. Alright, so now there's my USB adapter. We can just take this out and we can go ahead and slide it in here. So with that in there, we are ready to put it back in the case. Again, make sure the holes are lined up. It'll snap in. Fold that back down. One thing you can look at on the Pi Zero is next to these two micro USB ports, there's really small text you probably can't see in the video, but that says power in, and then that one says USB. And then this right here is a micro HDMI cable. So a regular HDMI cable won't fit in there. You'll need an adapter or like a special cord to do that. So if you have that HDMI cord adapter, a micro HDMI to HDMI, then you'll also need a micro USB to USB adapter so that you can plug a keyboard and mouse into here. Because this next step is probably going to be the most complicated if this is all new to you, because we need to install the software on the Raspberry Pi, and to do that we need to be able to log into it and control it. One way to do that would be connect a screen via HDMI, and then keyboard and mouse here. But instead we're going to use SSH and go to it over the network. So like I said, this is going to be the hardest part probably if this is new to you, but just follow along and you'll be able to figure it out. So with this all plugged in, and remember this is the power USB, we'll go ahead and close this. And when I do, if you're not sure which way this goes, you can look at these four little pins and they line up with those holes right there. So you can actually snap that in. So there we go. We've got the Pi in the case with the camera on, and we've got the SD card with the software. So now we're going to plug in and it's going to turn on. Since we put in the network information and toggled enable SSH to be on, we're going to be able to see the device come online. But to do that, you're going to need to go into your router settings. So if this is new to you and you've never logged into your router before, that's something you're going to have to figure out, and I'll show you a couple ways you can figure that out and what it might look like. But the goal by doing that is to see this device and see what IP address it has, because we need that to use SSH to log into it. So I'm going to plug this in, give it about 5 minutes to boot up and connect. And actually, I'll just open this and leave it like that when I plug it in. That way we can just see when I plug it in here, that light comes on, starts blinking, so we know it is booting up. So I'm going to let that boot up and jump back into the computer. So at this point, you're going to want to figure out how to log into your router. A good place to start is just typing into the URL bar of your browser 192.168.0.1. These first 3 numbers always signify a home network, so you're essentially looking at the device number 1 on your home network, and that's likely to be your router. Or you could try .0. So that .0 doesn't work for me. .1 brings me to this sign-in panel, and what this is the username and password to log into my router. If you've never set this up at all, it probably is username admin, password admin, or maybe username admin, password blank. But you can just Google your router and the model number, or just the router brand, and say how to log in to the admin page. You can probably ask ChatGPT too and learn how to do it that way. I've already set mine up with username and password. Okay, so I'll sign into my router, and then your router is going to look different, whatever the interface is. But look for something like attached devices. You're looking for a list of devices that are on your router. So find something like attached devices, click on that, and what you'll see is a list of IP addresses. And what you'll see is a list of IP addresses, and they'll start with 192.168.0. You might not see 192.168 if you're on, like, if you live in an apartment or something and you're on a managed internet kind of deal where you pay the apartment and they provide you access to the internet. If that's the case, this is not really going to work for you, and you need to go back to you probably need to buy the adapters to plug in and log in on a screen with a keyboard and mouse. But if you're on your own home network where you bought the router and everything, or you pay the company, then you'll see IP addresses 192.168, a whole list of them. And when you're looking at the attached devices, you're basically looking for a device that has device name of Raspberry Pi. So I'm still waiting on mine to boot up. I'm going to give it a few more minutes and come back when I see it. Okay, there it is. It just showed up. It is right here. And I have the IP address now, 192.168.0.77. Device name is Raspberry Pi, and this is the one that I want. So I'm going to show you how to do this on a Mac. On a PC, it's a little different. You'll need a program called Putty, but that's out of scope for this tutorial. On Mac, you want to open up Terminal, so you can click the magnifying glass and type in Terminal. It's also in your Applications folder under Utilities. There's Terminal. So if you've never used the terminal before, no problem. I'm going to tell you everything to do and what you're doing. If you have it open and you think it's too small, you can use Command plus. Keep hitting plus to make it bigger. And I'm just going to copy that IP address. And then we're going to type SSH. And then we need the username that we created. So when we went through the Raspberry Pi imager process, we created that username of Pi0cam. So we'll type that in, SSH Pi0cam @ and then you need the IP address. So click enter, and then it'll give you this warning, something about a key fingerprint, and do you want to continue connecting? You know the device that you're trying to connect to, so you want to say yes. So just type yes, and then it asks for the password. So you want to type in or paste your password here, but just know that it's not going to show anything when you type. That's just how it's set up. So I'm going to hit paste. I just hit paste, but nothing happened, but that's okay. I'll hit enter. And then if you put in the right username and password, then it says you're connected. So what SSH is a way to get to the terminal of your Raspberry Pi. So now this is going to run commands on the Raspberry Pi, and we need that because we need to put the software for the camera onto it. So what you can do is type clear, and that gets rid of everything above it. So now we're going to install the software that we need for this. And the program that we're going to install that I like to use because of its simplicity, although it's a little outdated, it still works great, is RPi Cam Web Interface. And it's only for the Raspberry Pi camera. It does not support USB cameras. And it doesn't work with the Pi camera module 3, so that's why we got Pi camera module 2. So we're just going to jump to installation instructions. Go into step 1, install Raspbian on your RPi. We did that. Attach camera. We did that. Enable camera support. So we're going to put in this command. I'm just going to copy it and paste it. And this is sudo is a command that makes you run something with elevated privileges, and then raspi config is the configuration menu. So here that is. Now we're going to go to interface options using the arrow keys, hit enter, and then legacy camera, click enter. Would you like to enable legacy camera support? Yes. And then hit the right arrow key to select, right arrow key finish, enter, and we need to reboot. So now it's going to disconnect us from the Raspberry Pi while it reboots. So while it's rebooting, it just disconnected me. I can hit the up arrow key, and that'll bring back the last command that I ran, which is this one. And I'm just going to hit enter, and it's asking for the password. Paste that in again. And now we're back on the Raspberry Pi. You can type clear, and now we'll just continue with these instructions to install this software. When it asks, do you want to continue, type Y and hit enter. Okay, now that that's done, we need to install Git. So it's already installed. So next we're gonna clone the repository. This basically copies the folder from GitHub onto your computer or onto your Raspberry Pi. Then this command just puts you inside of that folder. So now we can see that folder name here. We don't need to do this part. So we'll just run this, and this should install it. Once this pops up, you can just accept all of these, so just hit enter. Right before it finishes, it'll ask you if you want to start the camera. Just hit enter. Alright, now it's done. We've got the prompt again. So if we scroll down, step 6 is to use it. And it says open up any browser and enter the URL to access the camera website. It will be IP address : port/subfolder. So all we need to do is find the IP address, which we already found on the router, and type it in to a browser window. So this one's 192.168.0.77. Click enter and you'll get this page right here, and then click on HTML. And here it is. I've got the camera. It's right there laying on the desk looking up at my camera I used to record this. So it is fully working. We've got the time, the date, and all these options here. So one thing quickly to look at is under system. You've got shut down the system, which you'll want to do before you unplug it. So now you won't have to SSH into it anymore unless you are going to do, well, unless you're going to need to. You can shut down the system from here and you'll be able to do all kind of stuff from here. So that's it for this tutorial, which is just getting it set up and working, and we've done that now. So in the next video I'll go through some more of these options and how to do the motion detection. But yeah, if you made it this far in the video and you got yours set up, congratulations, and thanks for checking out my video. And let me know in the comments if you have any questions or you ran into any issues. I definitely have run into tons of issues getting this set up, trying different cameras and all that kind of stuff. So hopefully my mistakes have saved you some time. One thing for sure is to get the camera module 2, not the module 3, because this preview just won't pop up and it'll continue to give you an error. So that sucks. You can also do time lapses. That's awesome. But yeah, I'm going to make another video where I go through the different elements of this software. But thanks for watching. I appreciate you, appreciate all my viewers, and have a great day.